Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Deerheart, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. Also, if you're new here, please don't forget to give my channel a subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any content. My cat just jumped off my lap as soon as I started talking. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so today's video is a slice of life story about growing up being on the spectrum. Um, so I didn't get diagnosed with autism ASD1 until about a year and a half ago. So it's still a very new diagnosis. Um, and there were several events during my childhood and just how things happened that definitely pointed to me being on the spectrum, but it wasn't looked into. And being a child on the spectrum is very difficult, when you don't have any support or help. And then add being in an extremely abusive living situation with mentally ill caregivers. And then, I'm Etherean, and add that to the mix, and you're a pariah of a small town. It was not good. But yeah, I just kind of want to share some of my stories today about my experience of being on the spectrum. A lot of my life has been performative. And I was thinking about that today. A lot of my adult life has been performative, but a lot of my childhood as well, in ways I didn't even realize until recently. So, no, the cat wants on my lap again. What, Ebenezer Scrooge? She's such a good girl. What was I gonna say? Yeah, performative. So, as little girls, I mean, boys go through this too, but especially little girls, we're programmed to be compliant, to want to be liked, to be popular, to have a lot of girlfriends and slumber parties and girls time out, not like time out in a corner, but time with the girls, girl time, I don't know. The idea of having a best friend, the best friend necklaces where each necklace is half of a heart, that kind of stuff. Making friendship bracelets, sleepover parties, doing each other's hair, having fun with makeup, painting each other's nails. You get the gist of it. And that's what at least girls in America go through here. And most of that we're taught that at a young age. And I had a hard time with that even as a little girl. Little girls are supposed to want to play with baby dolls and pretend to be mothers. And I never wanted to do that. I hated baby dolls. I actually wanted to be the pet, like playing house, like mom, dad, babies. I want to be the cat, or in some cases, the dog. If I could be really creative, I'd want to be a dragon. That was awesome. When it was really cold outside, I remember I was probably in maybe kindergarten, first grade. When it's really cold outside, when you exhale, you can see your breath. And I remember that I'd pretend I was a dragon, and I'd exhale, I could see like I don't even know what causes, like the temperature, the cloud of my breath, you could see when it's cold, and I'd pretend I was a dragon. I'd like breathe fire and all this stuff. So I was always an outlier. Their girls didn't understand that. I also enjoyed rough play sometimes. Like not violent play, but rough play. Yeah. I'd say I started getting ostracized when I was about in fourth grade. And a big memory of this, I already shared this story, but just to recap, I was 9 years old. Well, I was going to turn 9 years old. And I was allowed to have a birthday party, which was amazing. And I was allowed to have one friend over. Well, I only had one friend. I thought she was my friend. And I invited her, and my birthday was at pizzeria, and I talked to her and handed her a card. On the day of my birthday, she shows up at the pizzeria, and she sees me sitting there, And she looked so disappointed. And she's like, "Oh, I thought it was the other girl. There was another girl that had my same name at the time, and she was also in the class, and she thought it was the other girl that invited her. So she, um, asked for the phone at the pizzeria and called her dad up and had him pick her up, and she just took off. I'd say that was a really big point where I realized that I wasn't liked. It was a new school too, and I thought that she was my only friend. Um, I've kind of, I think during elementary school, like fourth through sixth grade, especially sixth grade, was a pivotal point for me where I kind of learned that I could make friends through performative actions by making myself useful to them. And don't get me wrong, um, you should enjoy being with your friends. You should get something out of the friendship. I'm not talking about like, ooh, I felt good, crack my neck. I'm not talking about like purely transactional, like, oh, you do something and I pay you for it kind of thing. Not like that, but you genuinely enjoy them. You get some type of happiness or benefit just from spending time with them. It doesn't have to be a material gain or a service or use them. You know what I mean. But I learned that people really liked gifts, and I've had a few instances. So I was a very hardworking 12-year-old. I was living in a bad situation, but I was able to scrimp money by doing chores for my babysitter. I think I scrimped up maybe like $150 when I was 12. So that was big money. So, I had a little cash stack, little deer heart, a little cash stack. And there was this girl, she was new in my school, and I was 12, and this was in sixth grade. Her name was Emily. She was from Ukraine. Wait, no, it's a different girl. It's Sasha. Sorry, they were both new students. They both left quickly. It was interesting. So Emily was a new girl, and I wanted to be her friend. She was really cool, and I thought she was also really pretty and fun. And everyone else at the school, it was a small school. I'm talking about class less than 40. And I already had a bad reputation in the school. And when you're in a tiny school in a small town, it's hard to make friends if you have a bad reputation for being the freak, being a bad kid. So I'm like, okay, this is my chance. I can change this, my reputation. With her, like maybe she'll have a good opinion of me. So I started hanging out with her, and she started asking me for gifts. And the only time I really saw friendship modeled was through TV shows. Yeah, I saw the girls talking during recess and stuff, but I didn't know what they did outside of school or how friendships really worked. So I watched like PBS Kids a lot. I learned a lot of my social skills and friendship skills from stuff like Arthur, um, Clifford the Big Red Dog, uh, Word Girl. That was kind of a later one. I kind of aged out of it when that came out. Like Fetch with Rough Ruffman. Those kind of shows, or like Disney movies. That's how I learned about a lot of friendships and stuff like that. Movies and books. Young adult fiction. Anyways, she started kind of asking me for gifts. I'd do little things for her, like I'd get her candy, or I don't know, there's things like candy or like scented erasers from the school store, or kids stuff, or sodas or ice cream. And then she started asking me for jewelry and stuff like that. And my money was starting to run out, and her mom was really weird. Um, she lived with her mom, and this is a grown adult woman. So this grown adult woman would ask me to pay her think it was like $10 an hour to hang out with Emily. So I was paying the mother to hang out with the daughter for an hour or two after school. I didn't know this wasn't really normal. Once again, I was just an autistic little girl that had no friends and that came from an abusive home. And my biological father, Dan, he would take my money a lot. Like I would, earn money through doing chores for my babysitter, or every now and then I got like, a holiday card with money or birthday card with money from another family member from afar. They still sucked, by the way. Sending money doesn't do anything. But yeah, Dan would take my money, so I was kind of used to adults taking my money, anyways. And I would hide my money from Dan. I'd have like a few little stashes around my room, and I would hide my money, and he didn't know about it. So, anyways, I was starting to run out of funding, probably within like 2 or 3 weeks of this. Not Elizabeth. Was it Emily or Elizabeth? I think it was Emily. Yeah, it began with an E. Sorry, it's been a while. I'm just gonna go with Emily for now. Shoot, what was I gonna say? So, yeah, I was paying her mom, and I was starting to run out of money, but I really didn't want this friendship to stop. And I told Emily, I'm like, hey, I can't afford to give you gifts anymore. I'm sorry. And then she got mad at me. And then the next thing I did was, I knew it was morally wrong. I was a desperate kid. So we had a pharmacy in that small town, and I started going into the pharmacy and stealing. I would steal jewelry for this girl. I remember in particular, it was like a jewelry box or necklace, and it was like a rose. And the jewelry box looked like a rose, so it had like the stem and the leaves, and the top opened up, and it either revealed a necklace or a ring. And I think it was probably supposed to be more of a romantic gift for someone, but whatever. Anyways, I remember I stole that for her. I think it was probably like $25 or something. 12-year-old. I did not get caught. I actually got caught shoplifting when I was 12. I was stealing candy for her. Later on, but I remember very explicitly I stole that rose necklace. I'm pretty sure it was a necklace. And then there were kind of like these fake gems that were made of glass. So it was colored glass, and it was shaped like a diamond. They had like pink ones, blue ones, and they were pretty big. Like this big, and I would shoplift those for her. And candy. Maybe a little bit of perfume. Stuff a 12-year-old girl would want. Anyways, one day I did get caught stealing some, I think they were called retro sours. I think that's what they're called now, and they're like a sour candy in a tin, and I think it was like a sour raspberry flavor or something. I got in trouble for that, but that's another day story. There wasn't really much to tell. I'm like, yeah, you caught me red-handed. I was 12. I didn't really, I had to pay for it, and they watched me closely ever since then. I went to the store, but yeah, I was basically paying for this girl's attention via stealing and stuff. And she moved away. I'm not sure what happened. I remember before she moved away, she gave me a Christmas card. She wrote me a Christmas card. She didn't send the mail, but she just gave it to me at school. And it had like some cats pulling a Santa sleigh instead of reindeer. It had cats, and I don't remember what it said, but it basically just said Merry Christmas or something, and then she signed her name. It wasn't great, but that meant so much to me. And I remember that I kept that card until after I graduated high school. I probably kept that card until I got rid of a lot of that stuff that I kept from elementary school, junior high, high school. I didn't start getting rid of that stuff until I was probably about 26. So I kept on to that for about 14 years. But yeah, she just ended up moving away. And I I knew what I was doing and doing was wrong, but I was such a lonely kid, and I snuck out to see her. I wasn't allowed to really go out after hang out much after school because Dan was abusive, but I found time. I figured it out. There were a couple other things like that. I remember. I think I might have been in 6th or 7th grade too. This happened a lot during my childhood, and I know this video is kind of long, but I just wanted to share this. This is honest talk, my real stories. So, yeah, I was 12 or 13. No. This was before I was 13. I got moved into foster care when I was 13. So either had to be the first half of 7th grade or in 6th grade. Pretty sure 6th grade. Anyways, there's this boy named Charlie, and he was, I believe, 1 year younger than me. So he was 1 grade below me. And he was a wild, rambunctious kid. Very energetic, and he actually, I don't know even how we became friends, to be honest, probably during recess, and he was wild, rambunctious, and I wanted to wrestle. I really liked to wrestle when I was in 6th grade. Like, I loved stuff like, gym. Gym was my favorite. I loved to be very active and hands-on, like, loved dodgeball, freeze tag, and I liked to wrestle. One thing I was proud of when I was 12 was my strength. I was as strong as the boys, and the boys seemed to accept me more than the girls, but the boys never were really friends with me, but they seemed to accept me more than the girls. But anyways, none of them really spent time with me outside of school. I'm not even sure how this started with Charlie. I think he was just walking home from school, and I asked to walk with him, and he was like, sure, whatever. Then I believe we stopped at a gas station or something. I wanted maybe a diet soda or something, and I got him. I remember I got him like a root beer float. It was a Sinclair gas station, and they had like an ice cream station and root beer float. So I bought him kind of like this root beer float shake thing. He's like, thanks. You'd drink that and I'd walk him home, say goodbye. And then that kind of happened the next day. He's like, hey, do you want to join me walking? I'm like, yeah, I want to walk with you. Like, it felt so good that someone was requesting my attention. I'm like, oh my God. And then he wanted to stop at the gas station again, and he asked if I could get him an root beer float. And I'm like, yeah. And that kind of became our thing. And I ended up spending like almost all my savings buying him root beer floats and candy, like Reese's peanut butter cups and stuff like that. And when my money dried up, he didn't seem to want to have anything to do with me anymore. I know I went into more detail about the Emily thing because she gave me a card, and I feel that had an even more emotional impact because it was another girl, and I was trying to have a connection with another girl. I don't know, something about the Emily thing hurts me worse. I think it's because of the extent I went to keep this girl as my friend. That I was stealing for her, and her mom was asking me to pay her to spend time with Emily. So that made it a lot more weird in the Charlie situation. Sorry, my hair is a little bit messed up and it's bothering me. But it was still not a good scenario. There was this boy I hung out a little bit. This was also in 6th grade. I'm not sure why I had all these experiences, like, and partially 7th grade. There was a boy named Cody, and he hung out with me. I think he genuinely possibly liked me a little bit. But I think the reason he hung out with me is because he was also a semi-outcast, but not as bad of an outcast. He actually had male friends and stuff. But I'd still do nice things and make gifts for him. Like, I remember it was May Day, and his sister was really mean. She was slightly older. She was not a good person. Her name was Melissa. Anyways, I made May Day baskets, and I went to the store and bought some jelly beans and, some individual wrapped candies and made Mayday baskets. And I wanted to drop one off to him. And I worked very hard on these baskets. Like I colored them. Like I made like a woven basket of like cardstock, cardboard paper, and different colors, and tied ribbons to it, and made it really pretty with like that Easter grass stuff. You know, I want to be really pretty for Mayday. I remember I brought one for him and his sister to his house, and he took the baskets and threw them, on their driveway and stomped on the candy. I cried. Once again, I was in sixth grade or something, and he later apologized for it, and he said he apologized for it because there were other kids watching him with me. Like he didn't want to be seen being nice to me in front of their kids, and that's how that was. We I remember seeing a movie with him, Blades of Glory. I paid for his ticket, of course. I'm not even sure what happened. Like, we quit being friends. I'm not even sure. I know I had to move because I got moved into foster care. And then one of my. I have several more, but this one is kind of like when I was older, like 15, 16, 17. Um, there was this boy that lived in Elkader before I got moved. When I got moved to a different school in seventh grade. But there was a boy I really liked. His name was Lane, and I thought he was my friend. Not really. I think it was once again the services and gifts I gave him. I was like in love with this boy, like kid stuff. But even through high school, I kept in touch with him through Facebook and texting and emailing. And I remember every now and then I got this opportunity to see him. I had a ride back to Elkader. It was about a 2-hour drive from the town I got moved to. And, I had a part-time job. I think I was making like $7.50, maybe $8 an hour. And Lane loved Lady Gaga, stuff like that, and junk food and stuff. Anyways, I remember Lady Gaga released this black perfume that sprayed on clear. I can't remember what it was called. It was an interesting bottle, and it was like expensive. It was probably around $100. It was a designer like perfume, like a celebrity perfume, and I bought that for him. It was supposed to be unisex for men and women, and I bought him that, and I bought him lots of gifts, and he still talked to me. I think once again he only kept me around because of the gifts. And I remember the last time we hung out, I thought that we were friends. I was like 18 or something, and it was for New Year's. I was hanging out at my roommate's parents' house with her. I don't even know why the hell she invited me. She didn't like me either. It was weird. I think because I gave her money for a ride. It's always about money. It's always been about money. What I can give other people. But anyways, Lane was invited. My roommate's name was Kirsten. Lane was invited. And anyways, I remember we were watching The Interview when that came out in 2014. It was New Year's. Anyways, Lane said he needed to step outside for a while, and he stepped outside, and Kirsten and I were wondering what the hell, why was he gone for so long? Like he was gone outside like 5-10 minutes. And keep in mind, this is January 1st in Iowa. It's freaking freezing. So we waited a bit, and then Kirsten went outside, and so I wasn't outside the house, and this is kind of the middle of nowhere. So she went looking for him, and he just kind of disappeared. It was really weird. And it turned out he had ended up calling someone to pick him up to go to a party and just took off and left without saying anything. So that was a thing. That was crazy. Yeah. Kind of getting lightheaded. Not sure. It does feel good to get this off my chest, though. Um, yeah, those are my relationships. I've had other relationships, like kind of like in between, but those are the significant ones. I've had several transactional relationships, but those are the ones that stuck out to me the most. There's other ones, of course, but those were the top ones. And as I got older, even when I was like 15, perhaps, a lot of those relationships became transactional in a different way that I wasn't even aware of. Um, they were older men, like in their 30s, talking to me being 15 or 16 at the bus stop, acting interested in me. I thought they wanted to be my friends, but now I realize that they were perverts and disgusting. I didn't know. And then also through college. Um, remember, I was probably 19 or 20. I had this other friend named Max, and he apparently wanted to be friends with me. He saw me reading, I think it was Stephen King or something in the library at college, and he started talking to me. And he also had a car, and I didn't have a car. I didn't use him for a car or anything, just to clarify. But I thought it was cool he had a car. People, I was poor. Anyways, he would pick me up sometimes to hang out and go to our places in town. I would walk from campus to home. So I lived about a 20-minute walk away from campus. Anyways, we'd hang out and stuff. And he had ulterior motives. He knew I didn't have a family at that time. I only had my biological family, which I disowned, and they were terrible people, and I wasn't adopted yet. So he would take me over to his place, like his family's place. And I really liked his mom and his siblings and his dad. And he even had me go there for Christmas. And he knew that I really wanted a family. And he asked me to date him, and I said no. I wasn't interested in him that way. And this probably all happened, this was over the course of one semester, so probably about 3 months. Yeah, I met him in the fall semester, later in the fall semester, probably about 3 months. So remember, we hung out on Halloween through the end of December. So yeah, 4 months maybe. Anyways, no, I wasn't interested. And he said that, oh, you could be a regular face around my family home if you date me. And I'm like, no, like, I'm your friend. And then, he's trying to coerce me into dating him by dangling having a loving family over me. And that's so goddamn cruel. It's evil, to be honest. I said no, and he disappeared. And I've had several instances where males uh, wanted to exploit me for their own selfish desires, romantic, sexual desires. And that's the only reason that they were my friend. So yes, being on the spectrum is hard. I've had people be surprised when I tell them about my social struggles. They're like, "You're so pretty." What's that have to do with anything? Being pretty doesn't make me friends. Um, and even before my quote unquote prettiness developed, I wouldn't say I was an ugly kid, but I still had friendships were still transactional. Yeah, I just wanted to share this, like some of the struggles of my friendships. Try to decide if there's anything else I want to add. Besides Colin, I haven't really made any new friends in over 10 years. And and the people I was friends with, they weren't good to me, or they just wanted to keep me around because they wanted to wait for a chance to date me or something. I wasn't interested. Yeah, I'd say that, at least from my experience, being ASD1, autism spectrum disorder level 1, um, it's been a very lonely experience, very isolating. And I don't need to be popular or loved by a bunch of people, but it's just hard to make a friend, a platonic friend that likes me for who I am. And trust me, I've tried to make friends. I really have. It just doesn't go anywhere, or they want something from me. I don't think lately anyone has wanted. No, it's a lie. Okay, last story. At the beginning of this semester, I did try to put myself out there a little bit. I was in the commons area, sitting. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I looked up and there was like a floor above me, and there was a guy standing at the balcony, and he like waved to me. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go up there and see what that's about. I wasn't sure if he waved to me or not. I thought it was me, so I thought, well, this person's initiating contact somehow. Man, I sound like an alien saying that. So I better go up and investigate. So I get up there, and I said, oh, hi. And were you waving at me? He's like, yeah, your outfit was really cool. Once again, there we go. It's all about my looks or something I have, but whatever. So I started talking to him, and he was with this girl, and they were hyper liberal and had some views I didn't agree with, but that was fine. You know, it's young kids on a community college campus. What are you going to expect? So I talked to them maybe like 20 minutes, and I got their contact information. And I texted back and forth with the girl a couple times. It wasn't long conversations, but a little casual. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing great. Um, Less than a week later, she ends up. Keep in mind, I had not hung out with her outside of school. I only saw her on campus one time. Anyways, she texts me asking me if I can cash app her $20. I'm like, what the hell? You don't know me, and you don't just ask someone that you just met for money. It was weird. Like, she was treating me like a cash cow. And I just said, wait, no. Sorry, I'm telling this story out of order. She asked me if I had $20. She messaged me, asked me if I had $20. And I said, no, I don't have any cash on me. I declined. You know, she asked me for 20 bucks. I said, no, I don't have any cash on me. And then she's like, oh, it's okay. I have Cash App. You can cash out me. And that made me upset. I was already appalled that she asked me for money in the first place. She didn't even know me. And friends don't really ask each other for money unless they like know each other really well or something. I mean, I've never borrowed money from anybody. I don't think I've ever had anybody borrow money from me. It's always been they ask for it. It's weird. But anyways, yeah, she asked me for Cash App, and I got mad at her, and I said, you know, friends don't ask each other for money. Like, you haven't spent any time with me. This is weird. And then she was acting like I was making a big deal out of it, and I just blocked her. And the guy that invited me over and stuff, he wanted some money from me too. Like, less than a week later, he also wanted some money from me. So I got rid of both of them. I'm just like, oh my God, even on campus, this is happening to me. In the past, you know, I would have conceded and said, yeah, because I was desperate for friends. You know, I don't do that anymore. It seems that nobody really wants to spend time with me in real life. You know, I've had fun talking on my streams with a couple people, and you know who you are. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, I've had such an extremely difficult time trying to find people in my life that want to hang out with me. Oh, crap, crack my neck again. Just for who I am. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of my life has been performative and me trying to act in different ways to fit in to make friends. I've had several phases in my life. And I think that'd be good for another video. But yeah, I'm tired of being performative and trying to earn people's affection, and that era of my life is over. I didn't get anywhere with that. Um, all it did was make me wonder what I'm doing wrong and believe that I'm the problem. Why don't people like me? I was trying very hard to please people to the moon and back, changing my personality, my interests, studying social etiquette so hard, the proper responses to say, how to act interested, make eye contact, small talk, when to ask for a number, how often do I text, do I, you know, stuff like that. I would even write down conversation topics that I wanted to talk about, and I would try to talk about those topics in person. I would plan my conversations ahead, rehearse them. None of that worked. It was all performative, trying to be accepted and liked, and it was exhausting, and it made me hate myself. Where I'm at now, I'm a very lonely person, but at least I'm not exhausting myself and trying to get friends via gifts or being useful. I didn't really think of it as buying friends at the time when I was younger. I thought, well, this is what friends do. I'm a generous person. I'm a good person. I thought I was a good person and generous. And it's also kind of like the TV shows also taught me, was be a generous friend, be there, help them. But that it just ended up with me being used, exploited. So now I don't go out of my way to help people anymore. I don't put my neck out for anybody. And even if I don't offer anything, people just ask me for stuff. So yeah. I'm slowly learning to unmask and lose the performative bit. But I'm no longer approaching people trying to please them or offer them anything. But on, the other side of the same token, nobody tries to get to know me. So I guess that's where I'm at right now. If you made this far, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. And it felt good to talk about this, to put this out there. But yeah, thanks, guys. I hope you have a good day. All right, bye.